Hi, this is Johnny with Good Burger Reviews. I'm here to do a brand new 2025 movie review, and the movie is called Push.
Yours?
Trying to sell it. My boss says it's unsellable. Been on the market for years.
Yeah, why is that?
I guess people think it's cursed.
This movie was released onto Shudder. It is directed by David Charbonner, Justin Douglas Power. It stars Alicia Sands and Raul Castillos. The basic storyline follows a realtor who must survive a night of terror when a deranged client shows up at her open house and stalks her in a home invasion. So in this review, there will be some spoilers, so spoiler warning. Please like, subscribe, tap the notification bell, all that jazz. I appreciate the subscribers. So Alicia Sands plays a realtor. She is new to the area from Michigan. It's a throwback, 1993, and she is 8 months pregnant. She is suffering with flashbacks because her boyfriend or husband, the movie never says, dies in a car wreck. And she's about to become a single mother. Now she's moved to Michigan. She's Spanish because she talks in Spanish. And in the beginning there are multiple scenes where there are subtitles because she's talking to either her grandmother or mother over the phone. Now the subtitles were kind of funny because they were on the screen but they were blending with the background, so I couldn't read everything that they were saying. Now, even though I do know Spanish a little bit, I couldn't catch what was going on with everything she was saying. Yo hablo español. Yo no sé por qué dice con abuela. I guess maybe they just used a little bit of strobe on those words. We would have been able to read them better. Just a little nitpick about this one. However, after there's like a prologue pretty much, we flash forward to the 8 months later. She is in this giant mansion in northern Michigan and she's gonna have an open house on it. And she's getting ready to do the open house and she hears a knock at the door and only one person shows up. And the one person is the killer or the home invader. So in the positives, I would say this movie is filled with traditional spooks, haunts, jump scares, all that. I think overall that is done very well. I think the one thing that stands out the most is the shadows. In every scene where we see Natalie walking around this house or standing in this house, I always felt my eyes going to the background because it always seemed like something was in the shadows. Someone was down a long hallway. Someone was in the reflection. And every time it did that, most of the time, it ended up being nothing. But some of the times, it ended up being our home invader. So I can tell you that the writers to this movie definitely have watched Halloween, definitely have seen like The Strangers or The Strangers Chapter 1. I was getting like a Halloween meets Strangers vibe, and the reason why I say that is overall this storyline is like The Strangers. Or I was also thinking of the movie in 2016, Hush, another home invasion movie involving, I think she was deaf, a deaf girl in a home invasion movie. And that one was done quite well. But I also was saying there was lots of odes to Halloween and Michael Myers because our villain was like Michael Myers without a mask. Like he liked to walk slow. There was even this one scene where she's chasing her and like she gets in this elevator shaft or in this elevator and this gate comes up, but like they have this moment which reminded me of Halloween H2O where they're face to face with a door between them, and it was more of a fence, but like the guy couldn't get her. But like, and she turns around and looks at him and it was like, you, and it reminded me so much of when Laurie Strode first sees Michael Myers face to face in the little circular window in Halloween H2O. So the negatives. On this one, I would definitely say the characters made dumb decisions. Like our main girl, in one point, she locks one door after she gets initially spooked out by this guy, because it turns out he was the only one that showed up, and the reason why, she finds out later, is he took down all the open house signs. And I would think maybe that wouldn't be the only thing that prevents people from going to an open house if it was in the newspaper. Now, this was pre the internet being popular, so it wouldn't have been on the internet, because remember, we're in 1993. And the only time they really allude to that was when she whips out this phone book. And she gets in the phone book for a reason, but then also the phone in the movie reminded me of Scream. The way it rang, the way it was a cordless from back in the 90s. Other than that, this movie would have felt kind of present day, but I felt like there were times where she should have went for the phone and called for the police quicker than she did. There's also other times where she locks one door, but then waits till many more little occurrences happening, and she locks all these doors. I thought, this house was huge. This was like a giant mansion. She should have locked all those doors as soon as she started to get creeped out. Because of course, all those typical things are going on. Her car wouldn't start. The phone wasn't working. She was stranded. She's got a creeper roaming around on the property. And she decides to get up in this like crawl space where there's look like a cave or a cavern. And I'm like, why would we do this? This is one of those moments where someone in a movie does something really stupid and you're literally yelling at the screen.
Jerry, don't even think about it! Jerry!
I told you I heard someone!
Okay, you know the part in scary movies where somebody does something really stupid and everybody hates them for it? This is it.
I would also say in the negatives is the pacing issues. So it seemed like the movie, after the initial spooks and scares started happening, there was several knocks at the door, several bumps in the night, and it started to kind of repeat itself a little bit before our villain really gets into the house and starts doing things. And after multiple knocks on the door, I was waiting for that door to open and someone say, "Is Tamara there?" Because it was definitely giving me that Strangers vibe.
Is Tamara here?
And the acting in this movie by our main girl was okay. I felt like in some scenes it was really emphasized that she was Spanish, and the Spanish accent was coming out very strong, especially in the scenes where she was talking Spanish to her grandmother. But then there were other scenes where it seems like the accent was completely gone. It was completely not in some of the scenes. And I just guess maybe that was a consistency thing with the acting. I will say another dumb choice made. She attacks this villain out a window, and her and him fall out a second-story window, and then they land on top of each other. And I just remember the way the camera was angled at their bodies down. It reminded me of the end of Halloween, where the camera comes out and Michael's body's there, and then it flashes inside and Donald Pleasance is talking, it flashes back outside, and there's no body. Now, there wasn't no body in this part, but it just gave me that vibe of the bodies on the ground, a floor below. Also, there was a mechanic and two police officers that showed up, and our villain gets them pretty easily. They were kind of just fodder characters, and I felt like in this part, he's so strong to kill these men quite easily, but he struggles killing an 8-month pregnant woman for over an hour. So suspension of disbelief was another thing with this one. The other thing I think that was a little disappointing with this one was she had a lot of dreams and a lot of hallucinations. So there was a lot of hallucinations back to her dead boyfriend, and there was just a couple hallucinations of this guy doing something, and then it turned out to be not him. So that sometimes that's fine once or twice within a movie, but I felt like it was just happening a little bit too much in this one. Another big thing, suspension of disbelief. There was this elevator scene which reminded me of the elevator scene in Speed, because she ends up getting her foot almost caught, and then the elevator goes down with her shoe pops off, and similar thing happened in the beginning of Speed. But the whole elevator scene, like, she's 9 months pregnant and she hoists herself like up almost a whole half a story to get out of this elevator. And I thought, like, they definitely drew that out and made it long. It was extremely difficult for her to do, which obviously would be. But I just think a 9-month in labor pregnant woman is not going to be able to climb out of an elevator shaft a half a story up. I just felt like, no way. So, I mean, maybe, I guess, who knows? I've never been 9 months pregnant, so I can't say for sure, but, like, come on. This girl, she was tough. She definitely was a fighter. Of course, she's also giving birth during all of this. So that's the whole twist to this one. So, like, you have the whole Halloween thing going on, meets the whole Strangers thing going on, but then she's pregnant on top of it. And her water breaks, like, in the beginning when all the spooky stuff starts to happen. Her water broke. So, there's moments where she seems completely fine, and then all of a sudden she's having contractions, and, she has to breathe, and then, hence the title push. So she ends up giving birth, and the birth scene was okay. I thought it could have been a little bit more dramatic. Last year we had 4 or 5 pregnancy horror films, and some of them really did that pregnancy thing in a horror movie really well. This one I felt like was okay. It ended up giving me a basic vibe. I mean, she gives the birth. There was a little gross part where she, like, bites the umbilical cord. So a little bit of gore, but nothing too bad. So her and the baby are brought to a hospital, and then for the rest of the movie, again, like, the people who wrote this movie, they love Halloween. There's no doubt to my mind that they love Halloween, because now, for the last third act of the movie, I felt like I was watching Halloween 2. This girl is in a hospital gown, and she's limping, and she's walking around the hospital, and it's like Jamie Lee Curtis, Halloween 2, 1981 all over again. And the killer is in the hospital, so she finds out by one of the medical people that the killer was brought to the hospital and not dead. So he seemed to be dead right before everything came to a climax at the house. You thought maybe he was dead because there was a gunshot and everything, but he's not dead. So she has a final altercation with our main antagonist. He never really had a name. I think his real name was Raul. The actor playing him was Raul Castillo. And I would say his presence was okay. So I felt like it was a little jilted as well, though, because in some scenes he was kind of walking around like Michael Myers, but then when it served the story, he could run. And, I just thought, well, is he going to be a walker or is he going to be a runner? Because Michael Myers does the walking thing, and he's got that down pat. And they always manage to make Michael Myers walk, but he always managed to keep up with the way the scenes were shot. For a final spoiler, in the end of this one, she goes after him. Now, there's never a motive of why he did this. It never gets explained, which I thought was okay. I always like it when it's a little ambiguous. Like, we don't need to know what was behind, what caused him to do all this. But when she finally gets him in this hospital, she, like, goes ham and eggs and cheese and sauce. Like, she goes crazy on him. And she just stabs him, like, over 100 times. And, like, you see her going nuts on him, and, like, blood just spurting up, like, just bubbling up, like, popping up next to her, because you don't really see the stabbing. You just see her and the fist and the arms going down as she's stabbing him multiple times over and over again. So let's get down to business on this one. Overall, I felt like the story has been done before. It was little blends of movies from the past, themes from the past, but this was done fairly well. I was entertained, I was spooked out. The haunts, the spooks, all that was great. So But when it came down to it, the story and the acting and some of the disbelief, it ended up being a basic story.
And Push will receive a basic burger.
So for anyone who likes those haunted, home invasion, spooky type of stories, this one's great for a one-time watch. It is streaming on Shudder. It just was released, and I do recommend it. And this is Johnny with Good Burger Reviews signing out. And don't forget to stay scared, especially of those knocking at the door at night home invaders during an open house.